Britain's Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn's under fire again for his handling of an anti-Semitism row.
Look, anti-Semitism is a vile and evil thing within our society, at any level, anywhere, any time, and it's got to be eradicated. Can I finish? Wherever it arises. If it arises in my party, then we have a process for dealing with it. We examine each case, and if someone has committed any anti-Semitic act, then they're suspended and ultimately could be expelled.
Sounds pretty clear, doesn't it? Yet some see his meeting with a left-wing Jewish organisation that dares to criticise Israel and dismisses the anti-Semitism claims as a conspiracy to keep Corbyn out of power as another betrayal.
Jeremy also has meetings with other sections of the community and you know, has been wanting to have a meeting with representatives of the Board of Deputies and the Jewish Leadership Council. And you know, it doesn't take away from that. So I really don't. I think this is not a problem.
The meeting came about after several mainstream Jewish groups protested last week that Corbyn was all words and little action when it came to tackling Labour members who were anti-Semitic.
The question is not whether or not Jeremy Corbyn is or is not an anti-Semite. None of us have ever labelled him as that. The question is whether or not he is going to be, as he said he would be, our militant ally in the fight against anti-Semitism.
Corbyn's opponents will seek to get the maximum mileage out of this issue.
4 crew members are presumed dead after a Marines Corps helicopter crashed on a training mission. The incident took place near Plaster City, about 20 miles north of the US-Mexico border, during what officials called a routine training mission. The cause of the crash is currently under investigation.
Prince Philip has been admitted to the King Edward VII Hospital in London for hip surgery. Buckingham Palace said updates on his health would be given when appropriate. The 96-year-old husband of Queen Elizabeth missed this weekend's Easter church services because of his hip problems. He officially retired from public life in August, saying he was no longer able to stand up much. Prince Philip has previously been hospitalised after going down with infections.
The industrial action has hit all the major centres in France. The normally busy Perrache train station in Lyon was empty for much of the day as train drivers walked off the job and onto the city's streets. Led by the state railway SCNF, the protesters carried pro-union flags and fire torches. Union members fear the changes will pave the way for privatisation. Privatisation is a choice of government first. Europe allows it, but it is a political choice, dogmatic, and we are against it. It will not bring anything to the users, the railroaders or the employees. University students joined the demonstration to protest against the president's tightening of entrance requirements. The baccalaureate is a guarantee of access to higher education, and they are destroying all this. The problem is that there is a lack of resources and investment in faculties and places. The government wants to wind down the lottery system, allowing the hardest pressed universities to select students on merit. Our reporter says the unions claim these strikes are just the beginning, and like the famous movement of May '68, believe history will be on their side.
Thousands of protesters have turned out on the streets of Brazil to call for Lula da Silva to be put behind bars. The demonstrations come as the country's Supreme Court is set to rule whether the former president must start serving a 12-year sentence on corruption charges pending his appeal. "I'm angry with the situation," said this demonstrator. "I don't want the country to become Venezuela." The population wants justice, said another. "Brazilians are sick of violence, of impunity. We want to change this." Rival demonstrations were also held in support of the leader known as Lula. He's ahead in opinion polls for October's presidential election, but may be barred from running because of his bribery conviction.
The presidents of Russia, Turkey and Iran met in the Turkish capital Ankara on Wednesday for the second time in 6 months. Their stated aim is to speed up the peace process for Syria, but analysts say it's also to extend their influence in the war-torn country. All three have given their backing to peace talks in the Kazakh capital Astana, which they're putting forward as a parallel process to UN-sponsored talks in Geneva. For the Syrian people, peace is a matter of urgency. This video is said to be the aftermath of an airstrike on Tuesday by pro-government forces in Ariha in Idlib province. The town is sheltering displaced people taken there to get away from eastern Ghouta, one of the last pockets of rebel resistance that has been under siege by the Syrian army for months.
A Dutch lawyer has been sentenced to 30 days in prison for lying to FBI investigators. It's the first formal conviction obtained by Robert Mueller in his probe into alleged collusion between aides to Donald Trump and Moscow. Alex van der Zwaan pleaded guilty to lying about his contacts with another former Trump advisor, Rick Gates, and the person the FBI has assessed as being tied to Russian military intelligence. The Mueller inquiry has hung over Trump's presidency from the start. So far, 19 individuals have been charged, with 5 of them offering guilty pleas. Trump, who has not been accused of any wrongdoing, has repeatedly called the Mueller investigation a witch hunt.
British passport maker De La Rue has been given an extra 2 weeks to challenge the government's decision to award the contract to make new blue passports after Brexit to a European company. The manufacturer says it's not the cheapest, however it's the most secure. But critics say the firm shouldn't cry foul after losing in a fair contest.
The fact is that they were outbid and the price went somewhere else. So if you want to be protectionist, that's one way of doing things, but don't move that towards a belief that a Brexit Britain or a Brexiting Britain is therefore a free trading nation, because it's simply not.
De La Rue lost the €450 million contract to French-Dutch firm Gemalto last month. The Home Office says the new deal could save the taxpayer up to €100 million.
With a white Christmas on the cards, Britain is bracing itself for more travel disruption ahead. Large parts of the country saw snow on Sunday, with nearly 30 centimetres in Wales. But the most snow experienced in 5 years has grounded flights, shut down roads and severely disrupted rail services. At Heathrow Airport, de-icing planes caused hundreds of delays and cancellations. Flights were also briefly suspended at Birmingham and other London airports. Rail travel was also severely disrupted in the Midlands and on trains to and from Oxford. Emergency services had to attend several incidents on snow-covered roads in the Midlands. The Met Office has issued yellow weather warnings for ice for some parts of the country, with 130 km/h winds expected in the southeast. Meanwhile, hundreds of schools have also closed as temperatures dropped to as low as -10 in rural areas. But the wintry weather hasn't forced everyone into hibernation.
Yeah, absolutely love it. It doesn't happen all too often, so obviously we've got to take full advantage of it when you can.
Police in California respond to yet another shooting incident, this time at YouTube's headquarters near San Francisco. The suspect, a woman, is said to have opened fire with a handgun, wounding 3 people before killing herself. When SWAT teams arrived, they found dozens of YouTube employees fleeing the building. A 4th person is said to have been injured as they escaped.
We heard like boom, boom, you know, and everybody kind of looked up and didn't know what it was, and I ran to the window and it was a woman and she was firing her gun, and I just said, shoot her.
Senior law enforcement officials believe the shooting stemmed from a domestic dispute. A 36-year-old man left in a critical condition is believed to be the suspected shooter's boyfriend. It's the latest in a string of gun attacks carried out in the United States. Most recently, the massacre of 17 people at a Florida high school has led to calls for tighter restrictions on gun ownership. Last month, YouTube announced it would ban content promoting the sale of guns and gun accessories, as well as videos that teach how to make them.
E televidente, momento para um espaço comercial, agora nós estamos back no Informe Deportivo.